Imagine making a complete multiple layer coaster set in just one day. Well, you can with the new Bond Crafter Fast Cure Epoxy. Watch the video and see how you can do it too. So what I'm going to do is make some coasters, and these are actually silicone cake molds that I got on Amazon. I'll have a link in the description. Actually, I'll have to double check and make sure the link still works. So I like to use my resiners mixer when I'm mixing up a bigger batch, but then my hand mixer is fine for a smaller batch. So let me get gloves on. All right, so each one of these holds 100 milliliters of resin. If I fill it all the way to the top, I got a hole in my glove. But I'm not going to make these super thick, so I'm only planning on maybe 50 milliliters per, but I'm going to do it in several layers, so I'm not going to mix it all at once. So for whatever reason, my cup is wanting to slide all around
So
on
what I want to
the
do
silicone
is
mat. So I'm
mix
just
some
having to hold it with my
sand
hand, but
and
still, it is a
some of
lot
the
better
resin
than
and make
turning
like
that thing by hand with a popsicle
a
stick.
two-part design with some sand like the beach and then two colors of resin, maybe an aqua and a blue. Add a little bit of white like waves. So this may take a couple of layers, but that's okay. Okay, let's just make sure got this nice and mixed up. Definitely thick. Now this has about a 20 to 30 minute working time, which is good. All right, so I'm going to put some sand in here first. And this is just crushed shells actually from my beach that I've sifted. I've sifted out all of the really small sand, the fine sand, because it just tends to get really muddy and it darkens the resin, and I really don't like it. I just don't like the look of it with fine sand. So this is just all of the sand sifted out and then just crushed sand in there, or crushed shells in there. Mix that up. And then I'm going to separate the other two, or the rest of this resin, I'm going to separate it into 2 cups. And that's what I'm going to put some colors in. May actually have a little bit more than I need. Okay. And for the colors, I'm going to use the pigment dye that came with the Bond Crafter kit for the blue. I'm going to need a lot. So that's 6 drops. Let's see what that does. I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm going to add 3 more. And then I want to add 1 drop of yellow, or maybe a half a drop of yellow, just to see if I can get more of a turquoise. Don't know. So maybe like a half a drop. I don't know if I can get a half a drop. I need to poke that though. Just 1 drop. Because yellow and blue make green, but I don't want green. I want kind of a turquoise. And this makes it a little bit more turquoise. So I think that's going to be perfect. And then in this cup, I'm going to put a Let's Resin color that is labeled fluorescent green, but it's really more like a sea green. I think that'll be perfect. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a Let's Resin resin dye that I got with a kit. I don't know if you can buy it separate, but look at how pretty that color is. So it is green, but it's like a sea green, you know? Okay, and then I'm gonna mix this sand up. A little bit more resin. So now I'm gonna fill the cups really only about halfway.
about right there. I want to make sure I have enough, obviously. But I have extra resin, I have extra sand. Trying to press down just so I get rid of any air pockets. Might just use my hand and then take my gloves off. I think this one's good. Okay. And then this color is going to go close to the beach, and then the blue is going to go deeper. So this is going to be the first layer. And the reason I don't want to add the top layer in now, or I don't want to add any more resin in now, is because then the sand might float into the ocean, ocean, and I don't want that. So I'm going to add some starfish, just a couple of little something somethings. I'm going to add a starfish to each one. And that'll set before I add the top coat, like that. And a turtle. Oops. To each. All right, I'm gonna let this cure and then we'll come back. Probably in about 2 hours, I'll be able to put the top coat on. So good deal there. So it was just a short 2 hours later that I was able to mix up some more resin and do a nice top coat on each one of these coasters just to seal everything in and make it nice and thick and pretty. That's what I love about this Bond Crafter Fast Cure. I mean, it's a 1 day project. This is literally a 1 day project. Okay, these
You
did
don't
cure
have to wait
overnight.
hours and hours and hours for
And
the
I kind of
layers to cure
figured
before you start on the next layer.
I
But
would
I
have
did let
some
the final layer cure
rough
overnight.
edges just because this mold has such high sides. I'm just going to have to sand off these edges. I'm going to use the Let's Resin sander because it's perfect. It acts like a drum sander. But I love these. I do have bubbles, but I think I actually kind of like the bubbles. Actually like the bubbles because it looks like the ocean. You know, there's bubbles in the ocean. So I'm not unhappy with the bubbles. I don't want a whole lot of bubbles. Almost wish I could add, you know what I could have done before pouring the top coat, and this is what I'll do next time, is make some sea foam, the chunky sea foam out of the Mod Podge and dish soap, and just add a line here. And I could have done white resin. So maybe next time. This one I messed up on, and I have to admit, I came in after a couple hours just to test the mold, and I lifted this out of the mold and it created a little rough spot right here. So this was totally my fault. I think I can fill that in with some UV resin. So what I am going to do now, these are actually a little too chunky for me, but what I'm going to do now is take these outside with my sander and sand off the edges. This is probably my favorite craft tool that you don't really need, but it sure is nice to have. It is totally portable, and I don't have to lug my big old belt sander
All
out of
right,
the she
so I'm
shed
going to go
anymore.
inside now
I
and try to fill
absolutely
this in with some
love
UV
it.
resin. But I think I've sanded off enough. They're not rough anymore. There's a little bit of a lip, but these are coasters, so I'm not terribly worried about that. Man, I love this thing. And take it outside. I don't have to plug it in. So this is rechargeable. And the little suckers hold down on the tile that I have here on my shell table, and it's perfect. So let's take this back inside. And they're pretty even too. I was worried about them not being the same height, but they're almost perfectly the same height. So let's fill that in. You know, I'm going to leave the edges. I was thinking about putting some blue, using one of my blue paint pens and edging it, but I like it. I like it like that. So let's fill this in with some UV resin. I'm using the J Diction that I have because number one, it's what I have, and number two, it is thick, so it'll fill in perfectly. Here we go. So did have bubbles, but I didn't really make a huge effort to pop the bubbles because I kind of like the bubble effect in the ocean part because it's you know, oceany. There are bubbles in the ocean. So I like this. And also I was able to do this in one day, even pouring in 2 layers and letting that first layer cure until it was a little tacky. I was able to do these in one day. So there we go. From start to finish, 1 day project. Bond Crafter Fast Set coming to Amazon soon. Right now you can only order it direct from Bond Crafter, but they have shipped to their US warehouse, so the shipping is pretty quick. Bye.